Hey guys, it's Rhinne, and today we're going to be talking about my top 5 tips for getting into the PvP scene of Lost Ark as a new player. A lot of the tips in this video are going to be condensed versions of much larger concepts, so if you want to look more in depth about these concepts, I will be leaving links down in the description below that explain them further. Our first tip is going to be about field of view. For starters, you should set your monitor resolution to 21 by 9 to gain the most vision possible. If your monitor is not a 21 by 9 monitor, that's fine. Within the game settings, you can force a 21 by 9 aspect ratio, meaning that you will have black bars on the top and bottom of your screen. But it's fine because you will still gain full vision that everyone else has that is playing on 21 by 9. If you look at your screen, you will notice that you have more vision horizontally than you do vertically. If you see an enemy at the edge of your horizontal view, it is likely that they won't be able to see you. This is because in their view, you are on the vertical part of their screen and not the horizontal part. This means when an enemy is in that edge of that horizontal view, you can use skills from where you are, let's say an engage or some sort of long range CC or something, in order to be able to catch them, and they won't be able to react to it because they won't see it on their screen. This, however, does mean that the enemy can do the same exact thing if they are in the vertical parts of your screen, either the top or the bottom, because they will have you in their horizontal view. Understanding this will help you negate a lot of advantages that enemies will get early on with field of view advantages. For a more in-depth explanation of this, you can look up Rhinne's guide. It will be down in the description below. It talks a lot about how to abuse FOV and exactly why it is the way it is. Tip number 2 is going to be about the different types of CCs. In Lost Ark, we talk about the different CCs as T1, T2, and T3 CCs. T1 is going to be staggers, T2 is going to be pushes, and T3 is going to be hard CCs like stuns or freezes and whatnot. Certain skills in Lost Ark have things that we refer to as super armors. And these super armors will negate things from their tier and below. So a T1 super armor will negate CC from T1 skills. T2 super armor will negate T2 and T1 CCs. And then T3 super armor will negate T3 and below for all forms of CC there. Understanding which skills of yours have super armors on them and which skills of yours do CC is going to be important to understanding how to combo and how to avoid getting comboed. It is important to note that you can only be stunned once every 8 seconds or so, and you will see a little bar above a player's head if they are T3 or have been T3 CC'd, I should say. For a more in-depth explanation of how CCs work, you can check out Rhinne's guide once again down in the description below. It explains it a lot more in detail. Our third tip is going to be that your awakening does not need to be saved for the last 60 seconds of the game. So while there is a crit and a damage buff in the last 60 seconds of the game, you don't always need to save your awakening for that. Well, yeah, that can be a good idea because your awakening is generally a lot of damage. Sometimes the tempo gained from using your awakening early will be necessary or even more beneficial than using it in the late game. By saving your awakening for the later stages of the game, you become very predictable and you make it so you miss out on opportune moments to maybe hit 2 or 3 targets that would have ended up being more damage than you would get in the late game. There will also be times where you're in 1v3 situations where you need to not die or you will stagger your team's respawns, meaning that you may have to use something like your awakening in order to stay alive and stall for your team. Our fourth tip is going to be that the game is based a lot around forcing a ground roll and then capitalizing on it. When you get knocked down in Lost Ark, you have the ability to roll on the ground. This roll will make you temporarily immune to CCs as you are getting up, but it does have a long cooldown, about 10 or 12 seconds or so, somewhere around there. Once you know that a target has used their roll, you can force them onto the ground again, knowing that they won't be able to get up from other CCs, meaning that you can throw as much damage on them as possible, knowing that they can't react because they will be constantly CC'd on the ground. Tip number 5 is going to be that you can use your allies as bait to get massive damage on your enemies. If your enemies will use skills to engage on your allies, you can then throw skills on top of the enemies who no longer have cooldowns and have maybe used their super armors to get on top of your allies as a way to do a lot of damage to them, catch them by surprise, and peel your allies. By doing this simple thing, such as treating your allies as bait in order to set up your own skills, you not only get a lot of damage on the enemy, it also forces you to rethink your thinking, so that way now you are thinking about peeling for your team subconsciously. This is because anytime someone jumps on one of your allies, you will be looking to attack the enemy going on them, thereby peeling them without even thinking about peeling them. This is a good habit to get into for PvP games in general. These are my 5 tips for getting to the Lost Ark PvP scene as a new player. If you guys want to see PvP gameplay, my stream is down in the description below. You can check me out there. We'll be playing on Russia up until the North American release. And then when North America comes out, obviously we'll be playing there too. We'll also be doing PvE stuff as well, but we're waiting more for NA to come out for that to happen. If you guys want more YouTube content, like, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. If you have ideas for videos you want to see in the future, you can go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, take care.